Hi, I'm Ray and you're watching PhoneArena's video review of the Samsung Galaxy S5. So for a few years now, Samsung has been the dominant player on the Android smartphone market. Ever since the Galaxy S2, the giant from South Korea has established itself as a relentless alpha that is in no way willing to share the prey with others. Today, in early 2014 though, some people believe that Samsung's growing influence is finally starting to come to a slowdown. However, our opinion is that we should first take a look at the Galaxy S5, Samsung's back-to-basics flagship smartphone designed to rethink the company's whole concept when it comes to the look, feel and features of its top offering. To be honest, appearance has never been a strong characteristic of Samsung's Android-powered products, as if the company realizes that the South Koreans have been tweaking and changing the exteriors of their top smartphones with almost every new generation. With the Galaxy S5, Samsung is once again looking for that new visual style that would give its flagship phone a much-needed boost in the design department. So behold, the glam look. Samsung's new design for the Galaxy S5 ditches the fake leather for a new rubbery plastic finish with a nice dotted pattern. It's an inviting design with a warm and comfortable feel. Moreover, it's a design that actually looks quite good and eye-catchy. In terms of grip, the Samsung Galaxy S5 is pretty decent. It's by no means as slippery as some of its metal competitors such as the HTC One M8. Size-wise, the Samsung Galaxy S5 has grown quite a bit from the relatively compact footprint that its predecessor had. While the display has only grown by 0.1 inches, the dimensions have increased substantially. The phone is still comfortable to work with as it sits nicely in the hand. But in terms of weight, the Galaxy S5 tips the scales at 5.11 ounce or 145 grams. There is the good old physical home button surrounded by capacitive menu and back keys. All physical buttons work very well. The volume rocker on the Galaxy S5 is occupying its traditional place on the left hand side of the phone. The same goes for the power lock key that's found on the right hand side. The top edge is where you'll find the 3.5mm headphone jack as well as the IR blaster, while the bottom side houses the securely covered micro USB 3.0 port. We're happy to report that Samsung has taken a page out of Sony's book, and as a result the GS5 is water and dust resistant. With its IP67 certification, Samsung's new flagship is completely protected against dust particles while immersing it in water of up to 1 meter deep for up to about 30 minutes shouldn't cause any damage to the phone's internals. The backside of the Samsung Galaxy S5 is where the new 16-megapixel camera resides. Naturally, the slightly protruding camera is accompanied by an LED flash as well as a brand new feature, a dedicated heart rate sensor, but more on that later. As a whole, we commend Samsung for coming up with the so-called glam design of the Galaxy S5. It's both a practical and very good looking solution that retains the main virtues of the company's traditional design while giving a nice boost to the appearance aspect as well. And when we factor in the added benefit of water and dust resistance, the Samsung Galaxy S5 shapes up as a truly compelling offer from a design standpoint. These Super Amoled screens. So controversial yet so well received. Yes, they are off. And yes, they are relatively dim, but when it comes to their vibrant colors and perfect black levels, these attributes just seem to be enticing enough to make consumers want to hop on Sammy's bandwagon and enjoy those flashy visuals. Well, the good news is that it seems Samsung is perfectly aware of all the weaknesses of its display technology, as the company is continuing to evolve and enhance it. So further increasing its brightness, the GS5 Super AMOLED screen now enters LCD territory with maximum brightness reaching about 440 nits. As a result, outdoor visibility is pretty decent. However, Samsung has also thought about the opposite thing, which is how dim its display can get. In contrast to most other Android phones, the GS5 can get very dim, as low as just 2 nits. This makes the GS5 more than comfortable to view in the dark, even for longer periods of time, so you can easily read a book or watch some video without irritating your eyes. Luckily, the Samsung Galaxy S5's display also has improved color balance and accuracy compared to its predecessor. Sadly, it's still far from being a well-balanced display though. Once again, there are different display modes that you can choose between, all of which being more or less far from the reference value specified in the sRGB color space. More often than not, the case is that color temperature is high, resulting in a colder looking image. The biggest problem of this display is that it has insufficient red color, an issue that's evident regardless of which screen mode you're going to choose. We have to say this is a totally new Samsung that we're seeing here in the GS5. The company's latest flagship smartphone introduces a new, vastly improved version of the TouchWiz user interface. Powered by Android 4.4.2 KitKat, the Galaxy S5's TouchWiz UI has gone through some serious visual simplification. Following recent trends, most design elements such as icons or built-in widgets now appear flat and more simplistic looking, with less gradient effects and more solid colors. The transitions used when switching between home screen pages have also been reworked, mostly for the better. All in all, the general UI aspects have gotten cleaner and simpler, but also more polished than ever before. For example, icons finally have tap effects, while response times have been brought to a minimum. So we definitely like the direction in which Samsung is taking things with this latest version of TouchWiz. Right below the 5.1-inch display, hiding just underneath the home button, is the fingerprint sensor. Being of the swipe type, the Galaxy S5 scanner works differently from that of the Apple iPhone 5S, as you actually have to slide your finger down over the home button sensor for it to reach your fingerprint. Samsung's solution also doesn't work as seamlessly as that of Apple, because getting a correct reading with the Galaxy S5 sensor depends too much on the exact positioning of your finger. To be more specific, the chances of getting a correct reading are quite low if your finger isn't perfectly vertical relative to the phone, which is rarely the case for your thumb when you're holding the device in your hand. In short, we don't see the Galaxy S5's fingerprint sensor as a suitable method for phone unlocking, but when it comes to its other function, which is to authorize PayPal purchases, we say why not? It's faster than entering a password. Another unusual feature the Samsung Galaxy S5 comes with is the heart rate monitor. This new sensor is integrated with the new S-Health application, which is designed to track a variety of health-related parameters, a new one of which being your pulse. So checking your pulse is actually very easy, at least in theory. You just activate the feature, position your index finger on the sensor, stand still, and voila, the S-Health app will tell you what your heart rate is at the moment, provided that it works fine. The idea of having a heart rate monitor in your phone is a cool one, but now that we've tested it against a popular pulse detecting app from the Play Store, it appears that the differences in their readings are actually minor. This makes us wonder if it was really needed for Samsung to include a dedicated sensor for this type of task in the GS5. Sporting the most powerful variant of the Snapdragon 801 system chip, you can imagine just how fast the Samsung Galaxy S5 is going to be. Indeed, the horsepower hiding under the hood of this spectacular smartphone is just mind-blowing. The Snapdragon 801 chipset features a super-fast quad-core Crate 400 CPU, with each core having a maximum clock frequency of 2.5 GHz. Alongside this, there's the Adreno 330 graphics processing unit. RAM amount is set to 2 GB, more than enough for any high-end smartphone right now. What we're really glad to report is that the Samsung Galaxy S5 actually treats us to some remarkably low response times, with its interface. On the storage space side of things, the GS5 comes with either 16 or 32 GB of internal memory, but for those who require more, there's always the option of installing a microSD memory card. As with any other Android smartphone nowadays, the Google Chrome browser comes pre-installed on the Galaxy S5. However, it has been replaced by Samsung's own browser as the primary app for the purpose. To tell you the truth, both internet browsers have come a long way, and exactly which one you're going to side with for your internet surfing needs depends purely on your subjective or stylistic preferences. Samsung's own browser app is impressively fast, while navigation around websites is extremely smooth and quick. If you enjoy the benefits of a 4G LTE network, then you'll be happy to know that the Galaxy S5 has support for LTE Category 4 with theoretical downlink speeds of up to 150 megabits per second, as well as uplink speeds of up to 50 megabits per second. If you aren't that lucky to have access to an LTE network, you'd still be able to make use of the phone's HSPA Plus connection with theoretical download speeds reaching 42.2 megabits per second and a slightly more modest maximum upload speed of up to 5.76 megabits per second. A brand new feature here is Download Booster. What it essentially does is to combine the speed of a local Wi-Fi hotspot with that of the cellular network in order to achieve an even better, faster connection. Samsung's phone cameras are usually among the very best ones available, and we have every reason to think that the one in the GS5 would further cement this position. Equipped with a new 16 megapixel camera with a relatively large 1/2.6 inch sensor and an aperture of the f2.2, this already shapes up as a rather formidable camera module. The individual pixel size of the shooter is 1.12 microns, suggesting that digital noise should be kept at reasonable levels. What's more, Samsung is throwing in some innovation here as well by including face detection autofocus, an autofocusing technique that allows the camera to adjust the focus based on an analysis of the light that enters the sensor rather than the contrast between pixels. The Samsung Galaxy S5's camera application has thankfully been reworked and is now much more streamlined than the one that came with the GS4. Most importantly, there's a new grid option menu where users can easily see most of the camera settings at a glance. And as you can expect from Samsung, there's a plethora of different options and settings, including ISO, effects, metering, white balance, timer, HDR stabilization, and more. The camera modes menu has also been greatly simplified. A newcomer here is Virtual Tour, which allows you to create virtual tour experiences similar to Street View in Google Maps. So the Galaxy S5 has an excellent camera. The images produced by it have a wonderful detail level, everything looks exceptionally sharp and fine. Colors are more than realistic, neither too warm nor too cold. The handset also seems to be doing a very good job with the exposure. We noticed that it made a more preferable decision in some tricky situations, even if that meant cranking up the exposure in a very dark room, just so that we can actually see what's been there in that room, despite all that noise. We can't help but commend Samsung for designing this camera so that it can focus on objects that are extremely close to the sensor. This enables you to produce some truly breathtaking macro shots. Recorded 1080p video looks pretty decent, though it doesn't blow us away. Details and colors are fine, but you can really feel the lack of optical stabilization, as the image is quite jerky. The GS5 also lets you record 4K video, which naturally has better resolution, but all in all, there is nothing to write home about in this respect. The music player of the Galaxy S5 is fresh and inviting, just as most of the other apps on the device. It can filter your musical content in a variety of ways, including folders, which is always welcome. The GS5's player comes with a mandatory set of sound enhancing tools like Sound Alive, audio effects, Adapt Sound, and Smart Volume. The sound coming through the speaker is very powerful and actually pretty deep. for a phone speaker. Sadly, the earphones that come in the retail box aren't as impressive as they tend to deliver a mostly flat, lifeless sound. Naturally, the Galaxy S5 is a true multimedia powerhouse. As you can imagine, the 5.1-inch Super AMOLED display is perfect for enjoying video or games. The contrasty visuals as well as the extremely vivid colors make content appear quite fancy and eye-pleasing. The Galaxy S5 is an OK performer in the call quality department. Loudness through the handset's earpiece is just enough, but it tends to sound a bit muffled. Though the experience is bound to vary depending on the networks and carriers involved in the conversation. The opposite side is also going to enjoy more than decent tone strength, but instead of having a muffled taste, those tones gravitate towards the sharp side, with high frequencies being substantially boosted. The Galaxy S5 packs a juicy 2800 mAh battery. Official statistics claim that the Galaxy S5 would be able to deliver the remarkable 21 hours of talk time and about 16.2 days of standby. Meanwhile, continuous web browsing is rated at 10 hours and continuous video playback time is rated at about 12 hours. Samsung has added a compelling new set of features here: power saving mode and ultra power saving mode. The former is pretty straightforward. It limits the phone's performance in order to save battery energy. The ultra power saving mode is more intriguing. What it essentially does is to disable non-vital phone features and leave you with a phone that has just the basic set of functionality enabled. With the Galaxy S5, Samsung is staying true to its typical design language. However, the company has further enhanced the exterior of its product, making it look eye-catchy, all the while preserving the comfort that comes with a fine, textured plastic design. The Super AMOLED display has followed a similar path, as it presents us with a nice improvement over the panel that was available in the GS4, although it's still not going to appease display purists. The software is where a lot of the changes have really happened with the Galaxy S5. TouchWiz has become more streamlined, modern looking and polished, and thankfully there's less focus on gimmicks and more focus on real, life-enhancing features with this version of the software. Sadly, neither the Fingerprint Sensor nor the heart rate monitor are groundbreaking or particularly well implemented features, but they're still useful and can be actively utilized in the everyday experience with the phone. And the camera? Well, the camera on the Galaxy S5 is more than a well-rounded performer. It's actually spectacular, allowing you to create some very attractive macro photographies. At the end of the day, Samsung is staying true to its winning formula with the Galaxy S5, but the company has made some welcome, much-needed refinements, mostly involving getting rid of redundancies and focusing on what really matters, and that is the quality of the user experience. Of course, it's also worth checking out phones like the One M8, Xperia Z2, the G2 or the iPhone 5S, since these are all options that can successfully compete with the Galaxy S5, but the fact remains that Samsung once again has a smash hit with its latest flagship smartphone, and there is really much more to it than just a strong marketing campaign.